relationships and things. And I just, as an observation, I think those are important relationships. And I think I would favor and recommend that you expand that so that you can, take the time to develop those relationships with township supervisors as with your individual assignments that you have, to be able to meet with them one-on-one and cultivate those relationships, because those are important, especially with matching funds and things that are expected. So just throw that out there for your consideration, that you consider expanding the allotment for per diems per month to accommodate more of those meetings. That's all I had.
Thank you. Any other public comment? All right. Seeing none, we'll go to our action items and then start off with our appointments. Our first appointment is Bill Zip. Going to give us an update on
my favorite project.
our favorite project.
My favorite project.
Mine too.
I bring this along every time just because it's cool. Nothing here has changed on this board, as you see, so it's not really relevant. What I wanted to do tonight is thank you for letting me speak again. This is an exciting project for us, and I know it is for you too. Take you back a little bit, back to the East-West Corridor project. That was phase one. Now, the intent of that project was to determine the need for East-West crossing somewhere else. It came out of that came some short-term, medium-term, and long-term recommendations. The short-term and medium-term you are implementing, that's having an effect. But the long-term could have been dealt with until more study, because the initial study only determined that 10 years, with the data that they had, only 10 years could be gotten. What we've done now, moving into phase 2A, is the intent of that was to, if a new crossing is needed, where should it be? And the traffic data that we've used shows that there is a need for a new crossing in 2045 in the future year. And what we've done throughout the entire Focus PAL is determine where we think it should go. And what we've done is developed, after assembling a series, much more than this as far as alternatives go, we've focused down on these alternatives as practical ones, and all our efforts in the last several months has been to look at each individual one, and we're now at a point where we can move forward, we believe, into NEPA, and with the locally acceptable alternative being the Hartman-Hammond alternative, and to not move forward with the Saban Dam and the Cass Road alternatives for many, many reasons. I've talked about it, the NER, the National Education Reserve, the park along the border is a big part of it, of the Saban Dam. That same park and the Robbins property and the railroad bridge at the Cass Road alternative are the big issues down there. So these two we're not moving forward into the NEPA phase, which is the next phase, which we have called to phase 2B. We've had some good meetings with resource agencies at the end of January. We met with, at the end of January also, we met with the MDOT environmental people. Recently, we met with MDOT and FHWA on the 18th of February. Real good response from them. The intent was to indicate what we've done, talk about moving forward into NEPA. How do we prepare ourselves to move forward into NEPA? We got some real good feedback from them telling us what we need to do, and we're preparing to complete our report, which will identify Hartman-Hammond as the locally acceptable alternative. We have some meetings coming up. Just yesterday, we met with the local agency group. We call them Little Ag. Got some real good feedback from them. We made some, they brought up some points that we have to modify, but they were minor points, relatively speaking, relative to ownership and some just some national, the Natural Rivers Act was incorrectly shown. public meeting number 3 is coming up in March. We have a date, the 16th. You'll get a invitation to that real soon. Actually, I think I sent out a save the date kind of thing. We're intending on having two meetings, one in the afternoon and one in the evening, so that we can try to capture, most of the people. We're also talking about having a media day in advance of that as well. Well, that's pretty much it. A lot of exciting things are happening. We are, as I noted, we're moving toward a completion of this. We expect to finish this Focus Pell, the document, in March and present it. I think we'll probably end up presenting it in April. By the time we finish it, we'll get a draft up to you, to staff before we finalize it sometime in March, and then probably present it to the board at the April.
But for the public, the big reveal is on the 16th. I mean,
That's the public meeting, yes. I mean, the public has seen, they've seen this,
yeah,
and they've heard from others what's happening. We've seen newspaper articles, Hartman Hammond again, kind of thing, and we kind of expected that.
Sure.
But the reality is the previous Hartman Hammond and this Hartman Hammond are different, much different. The big difference is where the bridge is located. We're talking a high bridge alternative, and they weren't, and they died down. And they didn't do a real good public engagement process. And from the federal agency's perspective, they didn't reach out very well.
I do recall, I mean, it's been a lot of years, I do recall some discussion about how high it would have to be back then. And it seemed prohibitive, but I mean, it's prohibitive without it, honestly. I think.
Yeah, I don't think we could move forward.
No.
I mean, we've said amongst ourselves many times when we started this, given the fact that Cass Road was already an alternative and already a developed corridor, and it's disturbed down there, we could build another bridge or widen it. And, we don't see how we're going to be able to get away with this one because that one exists. But given all of the impacts that both Cass Road and Sabin Dam do, Hartman Hammond is the most, is what we've identified as a locally preferred alternative. I keep saying that, but that's a current buzzword. We don't use that R word moving forward yet. So I'm here to entertain. Well, no, not entertain. I'm not very good at that. I'm here to answer questions if you have any. I didn't bring any of the rest of the guys.
Where's the meeting on the 16th?
It'll be at the Networks Northwest, the conference center, the Michigan Works Conference Center down in Garfield.
Okay.
And we're looking at 2 o'clock and 7 o'clock. That's the time we're looking at. We got to work with Wayne and staff to get public meeting notices out very soon. That was on my list of things to talk to you about today, Wayne, but it didn't make it. So anyway, we'll be moving forward with that. Any other questions? We're excited about moving forward.
Yeah.
I'm excited about it. I'm not sure I'm going to be around for the end of it. But
Thank you, Bill.
you're welcome. Thank you.
And forgive me while I disturb you and take this stuff out.
We do have Carl now as well.
Hi, Carl.
So this one.
Good.
Can you see him?
There it is.
Can
John?
you see him?
Should I repeat my?
No, we're all good.
Muted, but
We'll let him read the minutes.
There you go.
I apologize. Do you need to see him? And so that he is.
Oh, okay. Carl, if you could just tell us where you're at and that you have nobody whispering in your ear. No audio yet.
No audio yet, Carl.
You're at some mute.
Yeah. I've asked him to unmute.
Hi, everybody.
Good night.
For your
Have a good
time.
night.
Thank you.
Thanks, Bill. Have a great night.
Thank you.
Lower left. No, nothing yet. Should be on the lower left-hand corner there, Carl, with that little microphone looking thing.
Favorite line for
It may, sometimes computers will do something and you just left click or right click and then default microphone or something. Is he still showing muted?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
It's in the software, it's not.
Somebody hit Bill Gates.
Or something bigger?
Send the picture. You want to just.
Yeah, Carl, if you could at least chat, if you can't figure it out, if you could at least chat where you're at.
I don't think he can chat. He won't be able to chat. Not in this. It's a webinar.
Can you hear me now?
Hey.
That better?
Oh, yeah.
Wonderful. There is nobody here with me, and I am in Summerfield, Florida.
All right, 7:14. So, okay, John.
John Wapowski, Innovative Technology. You had requested that I return after you had a chance to review some of the information regarding the proposal that we submitted for a voice over IP phone system for the road commission.
Everybody did receive that, correct, and had a chance to look through it, so. Were there
Well,
any?
you requested it.
Yeah.
Specifically.
Yeah.
I mean, as a staff, staff has had an opportunity to review it, and is
We
it
have,
adequate or?
yeah, we have no objections. We like the capabilities of it. We didn't see anything that was stopping it from being the process, or the program that we want in place, as well as the fact that based on the comparables that we had, we felt it was a good price, because when we talked to our external IT consultant, he expected it to come in a little bit higher than that. So he thought it was a good price, and he thought for what they were offering, it was a good product that we would be well served for at least the next 10 years.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I went through it in my experience in purchasing multiple phone systems for my business and a couple other organizations I was involved with. I mean, I think the price was less than I had anticipated as well for this specific part of what the original bid thing was, so.
It's the Starving Hippie deal.
Yeah.
You get the bargain basement.
I have, my concern is the bid specifications, the bid process, and not the particular capabilities of this. We've had in the last year where we've had a number of things we bid on where we only get one bidder. And I'm concerned that we don't get bid specifications out to the right people, or they're not addressed in the proper way. I spoke to someone who does the state police and MDOT here in Traverse City, and they were not aware of our bid. There are opportunity, or they would have at least looked at, not saying they would have bid it or anything, but they weren't aware of it. So I'm going forward, I'm not discounting the fact that this is a good value. I'd really like to look at the way, the types of ways we advertise and promote our bids in the future. I can't believe doing business with the road commission, this road commission, with our staff and with us as board members, cannot be a positive process for most companies. And I would like to see us have more bidders on things we do, get more in it, to spend the public's money wisely. I think we need to look at our support systems to the bids themselves.
Carl, you have anything?
Oh, you're muted, Carl.
Yeah, you muted yourself.
Can you hear me now?
Yep.
There we go. No, I agree with Alan on that. I would think we would, you know, I know the business climate's a little goofy right now, but I would still hope we get more than one bid on our stuff, you know?
But, you know, and I just, as a thing that, as we see, You know, it's not just this, you know, there are things that we try to get multiple prices on for smaller items that don't require board approval. We aren't getting that response, and we call, like Dan, when he's looking for tires and he's gonna be ordering tires. He calls like 10 shops, we may get a price from one, maybe two if we're lucky. People are just not responding to it. And even, you know, when you look at what we had for projects for slope restoration, you know, we'd send out to the companies, and all these companies are larger companies, and a lot of them just are not looking to do it. They're just not in, they don't have the staff available to handle a lot of things. So we are struggling. There is no question about it. And we've had a lot of road bids that come in with one respondent. And you would think that with the 3 reasonably sized companies, 2 large and 1 reasonably sized company, you'd think we'd get 3 bids. We don't.
So, and I think we need to talk about that and where it matters and where the expertise is and how we've reached out. In the meantime, though, I think Anavan is looking for some action from this board potentially, if we're willing to go there. And if you've looked at it, if you're confident, I mean, you can.
I think I'm looking for action too. I mean, we could continue to kick this can down the road and not do business and have an antiquated system.
So this is where, if you think that we should move forward, this is where you'd make a motion.
Yeah, I'm waiting. I was waiting for you to finish.
Okay, no, you just feel free. That's so.
Yeah, I mean, based on the fact that there was a process that we did go out to it. We did go out with a process for the system, right? And we got the one bid, like, and I think if we continue to just kick the can down and say, well, we have to have multiple bids. In my review of this and in my experience in it, my work with Anavan in the past, qualified company, it's a qualified system, it's a good price. I'm confident. The fact that we only got one bid, and again, I completely understand what Alan is saying about the process and how we do it.
It's not their fault that we got.
It's not their fault. And going in the forward, we can,
exactly.
exactly, no, I know, and I know you were, but in the future, I think that's a future thing we have to discuss. But I don't think we can just say, well, it didn't happen, and so we'll just wait and sit and come up with a different process to. So I make a motion to approve Anavan's proposal for a new phone system in the amount of
/security.
No, just the phone.
Just phone system.
Just the phone, just the phone for right now.
For the total of $21,756.52. More or less.
Okay, so we have that in the support. Any further discussion?
When would be the completion?
How soon?
Installation, how long does it take?
It depends largely on delivery of phones. The amount of flow of information back and forth, delivery of phones, probably 6 to 7 weeks.
Which sets us up to be good for when construction season gets flying.
All right. Any further discussion, Carl?
No, I think to the point of getting more bids, I think at this point with the business climate the way it is, and to Brad's point too, I've reached out to contractors in the field and they just, I'm getting more no's than I don't know they're that busy or whatever, one bid back. So I guess I gotta go with that too myself.
All right, so Kylie, if we could take a roll call, please.
Yes. Oh, you do.
Yeah, we got a second from Alan.
Underwood,
Yes.
Brown,
Yes.
Endress,
Yes.
Seaman,
Yes.
Gilman.
Abstain. So it is passed.
Call him, talk to Larry.
Get it set up.
Thank you for coming back.
Yeah.
Thanks, John. Be in touch there.
All right, our 7:25. 2 minutes ahead. The Ripnells, welcome back.
How are you?
Good. I suspect they're looking for some information from us.
And I am gonna leave that because Wayne took it while I was on vacation, so.
Wayne show.
Yep.
Wayne's wrong.
So unfortunately, legal counsel has not gathered enough everything, put everything together to a point where she's comfortable to discuss. As she continued to further get into it and the considerations of it, she felt that this was an item special enough to address the board specifically, and perhaps it even go into a closed session for appropriate counsel, what's the terminology there? Attorney-client privilege. On that there, because of the potential ramifications, as well as then probably being able to give a little bit of history on the development of those particular standards and those alternatives onto there. So she did send along some dates that she's available between now and the next board meeting, because she won't be available for the next board meeting on that. So I was able to reach out to Sandra to let them know that we would not, unfortunately, have legal counsel opinion to share with you tonight on that. And our recommendation is to have a special meeting with legal counsel in the next several weeks.
Yeah, and I think we should.
Who is our legal counsel?
Carrie is still.
Carrie
Seitz.
Yeah, I'd like to sit down and discuss those sensitive things, I think. And it is something I think is probably, as she said, it's appropriate for close, because I mean, it's discussion, it's negotiations. That's, that's really what it comes down to.
And she has some things that she wants to point out when she's in there that have only need to be discussed, and then afterwards we got to come out and have a vote on it anyway.
I think we can be fairly certain that you have the sympathies, I think, of most of the board that they've been expressed already. We have to make sure that we do at least for the public trust. And so we just have to kind of follow through and make sure that we're not getting ahead of ourselves too. So, all right.
Understood.
But with respect to the Rev Nows, I'll keep them advised of when the special meeting will be, so that if they can make it for that, obviously not during closed session portion, but so that you're able to be here, and then if there's an opportunity and the board takes action, you'll know right away that.
I had a great interaction with Wayne today, just talking back and forth about things, and it's just really important to us because this is so impactful to our future that we can stay engaged in the process as much as possible. And our house is slated to be on the ground in June. So
oh boy,
we're very concerned about the timeline is kind of where we're at as well.
Carrie gave us the dates and they all worked for both Wayne and I. So Kylie will send out.
Just going forward, out of curiosity, how far away from the stub end of the road is the house going to be located?
I guess I don't have an exact number for you because we're still trying to decide where we want to put.
100 feet, 200 feet?
Ish.
Okay. Ish.
Yeah. But yeah, we're not going to be this far away.
Right.
You know? Yeah. Obviously, if you got 20 acres, you don't want to build on the road. Yeah.
Just trying to get a mental picture.
Yeah, we're just trying to
of all the possibilities.
Yeah, we're just trying to figure out where it should go based on the topography.
Because it's a nice piece of land. I mean,
yeah.
And we'd certainly like to set our house back far enough that we have privacy and have a bend in the driveway and that type of thing.
So Kylie will send out something to all the board members with possible dates, and then you guys will figure out when everyone can make it.
Thank you.
Understood. Thank you.
Thanks, Wayne. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Wayne. I appreciate it.
All right. Well, if he's here, which of course he's here. I was going to dock you 5 minutes if you mentioned the Bluff Road at all. Your public comment.
Minutes, Dan Olson, Mission Hills HOA. We were off the agenda, but then there was some communication with Commissioner Kofia and Wayne indicating there may be a presentation by GEI tonight. So we asked just to be put on so we can be part of that discussion and may have some questions. If there's something shared there. So I guess, is that going to be shared at some point tonight or?
We don't.
We don't have it yet.
Yeah.
So we're anticipating any day. They were shooting to have something for the board that just did not come to fruition yet. When we do receive that, then we'll submit
And that-
to you a copy as well.
That could very likely be covered in that same special meeting when we can talk about
Oh,
it. Because we're gonna have to meet before the 24th of March anyway.
Well, yeah.
And we'll keep you notified then if that's.
So we will, you're not going to be discussing Bluff tonight or on the agenda item, or will there still be some?
It's gonna be, yeah, we're just gonna have to drop it at this point because we just did not get anything from GEI.
Can I ask one, just maybe a question or two? Has GEI been out to the site location since we made improvements to see what's been done there?
I don't believe that they've made another trip out there. I'm not sure if anyone from the local office. Carlin works out of one of their offices on State. I don't believe she's been up here. I'm not sure if anyone from the local office had went out there after we kind of shared that information that you provided us. I provided that to them as well.
Okay, all right, that was one of our questions. Whether, that some of that work, the improvements that have been there could improve the safety factor rating on portions of the road, things like that. All right, thanks.
Yeah, sorry we didn't have anything else for you.
Okay.
All right. That gets us into our action items B, the consent calendar.
The consent calendar is used to expedite business by grouping non-controversial items together without discussion. Requests by any person present to remove any item from the consent calendar for full discussion as agenda items are automatically respected. The action noted in parentheses for all items remaining on the consent calendar are approved by a single commission action adopting the consent calendar. The manager recommends the following items be adopted. 1, minutes. 2, payroll. 3, accounts payable. 4, financial reports. 5, reports and communications.
All right, does anybody on this board wish to pull anything from the consent calendar? Carl, you have anything you want to pull? Just wave no if no.
Nope, I'm good.
Okay. Anybody in the public wish to?
There is no public left.
Wow.
You scared them away, Jason.
Just terrible, just terrible. Okay, seeing none, I'd entertain a motion to.
I'll make a motion to accept the consent.
And support. Joe and Kevin. Money, roll call.
Brown,
Yes.
Fenris,
Yes.
Lehman,
Yes.
Underwood,
Yes.
Gilman.
Yes. Yes on something. All righty, no items removed from this consent calendar. This is kind of a fun one.
Yeah.
Sale of the house, the garage, the detached garage, the shed, the landscaping. You get it all for one low price.
Yeah.
Sold.
Okay, thank you. Yes. So bids were received on February 17th for the sale and the removal of the house, detached garage and landscaping at 835 North Keystone in Garfield Township. We did advertise the bids on Mitten and Gov Bids, also in the Record Eagle. And on the GTCRC website, known interested parties were also notified. We did only receive one bid from Old Mission Holdings LLC for the house and the attached garage. Now, due to the timing of the removal and the lack of interest of the other items, staff recommends including the detached garage and the landscaping and the sale of the house in lieu of incurring additional removal of the destruction of the garage and other amenities out there, and then the site clearing costs. We have verbally talked with them. They're acceptable to that out there. Removal of the garage and landscaping items is necessary for removal of the house and construction of the roundabout at Keystone Road and Cass Road. We have the bid for the house and attached garage at $30,822, and we recommend that that bid be awarded.
One other thing is by having them remove that detached garage and they then are removing the slab that's there, which needs to be done, we figure the total value in cash to us plus the savings of what we would have to do otherwise is closer to 45,000. Just based on the fact that if they didn't, you know, well, follow the
We're gonna incur
landscaping.
costs
and the-
for-
Yeah,
for-
so it's
for-
just, yeah, so they'll take care of it and then we don't have to worry about it.
It also required in there with the sale of the house was, they have to properly remove the septic tank and drain field, the walls. Well, and that has to then they have to fill out the paperwork and report that to the health department. The well's already been taken care of. We took care of that a while back. And then they have to not only bust down the basement walls, but also remove that material and the slab floor of the basement. So there's quite a bit in there so that we can do all of our road work in that area.
I would say this is a good deal for us. It's a good deal all around. I mean, they're gonna be able, they're gonna have a building they can put in, and as you know, it's building materials and getting builders. I mean, if you can move a house, yes, it's still a lot cheaper, but.
Yeah, for us, it's a good thing
It's a
because
win-win.
we don't have to worry about somebody in there to remove all this stuff.
Okay, motion to accept the bid. Okay, Alan, to accept the bid for $30,822.
Support.
Support? Oh.
Okay.
Carl for support. Way to jump in there.
That'll be quick here.
Any further discussion? Riley?
Andrus,
Yes.
Lehman,
Yes.
Underwood,
Yes.
Brown,
Yes.
Gilman.
Absolutely, yes.
All right.
All right.
We're removing Bluff Road because we did not receive it.
Right.
So if you have any questions, we can answer them about what we're looking at, but right now we have not received the actual formal report from GEI.
Okay, that brings us to item number F, salt order.
Okay, this one, we were very, very low on salt. It's been a high salt usage year for everybody in northern Michigan. We called around to other counties. They're all also running low on salt. So we called outside of our normal contract to the people that normally supply salt throughout the state. And we were able to obtain 3,000 tons of salt from Compass Minerals at a cost that was only slightly higher than what our normal contract was. And that will then give us enough salt no matter what. We now have enough salt to last us through this season without having to go to a sand policy on major routes. And we'll be able to keep our roads to the standard that the citizens are used to.
3,000 tons.
Yeah, and it's very expensive. I mean, we understand that, but it's the nature of snow removal. When we have big winters, we use a
How many
lot.
trucks is that? Just out of curiosity.
Well, they carry 50 tons a piece.
60.
So 50, 60 tons.
Can't put it through a pipeline.
No, and the problem with it too is, you know, you also have, it's not a very heavy material, so it takes a lot of trucks. You'd be surprised. You know, they're filling up these trucks and they're not.
Right.
It's not like rock, it's salt.
Maybe Carl wants to make the motion.
I could do that. I'll make a motion to purchase the 3,000 tons of salt at a price of $230,190, more or less.
And support by Joe. All right, any further discussion? Kyler?
Everything we don't use.
Oh, yeah, hold on.
Salt barns till next
Yes,
year.
it'll be.
Right, I mean, so it's not like we, it's not like we don't use it all. Like
It's
we
not
waste
gonna
it.
go bad, no.
We have to go spread it out there at the end of the season somewhere.
Grand Traverse County has a great water retention problem. Kylie?
Lehman,
Yes.
Underwood,
Yes.
Brown,
Yes.
Andrus,
Yes.
Gilman.
Yes. All right. Okay, so we're gonna talk.
Talk a little bit about policies here. Can you bring one of the policies up there, Larry, so we can show? what we've done, the biggest thing is, you know, we are reformatting them so they all look the same. Because some of them were in resolution form, some of them were in just a simple couple of things written down. So we're trying to get this standard here, and we wanted to at the same time review everything. So we now have this format here, which will state what the purpose is, any regulatory issues, any definitions that fall outside of the norm, and then who's responsible for it. So the first two, this is, there are two that pertain to employees as well as board members. For the first, we have one that we just need to delete, and then we have four policies that apply to you as board members, but not to staff. Those ones we are going to ask you to review between now and the April meeting or the March meeting, so that we can take those in. If there's massive edits, we'll deal with it and we'll bring it back in April for approval. If there's not any massive edits, we'll just put it together while we're here and then approve the board policies. And if it's just something that you look at and say, yeah, it works for us, then fine. But we just want to make sure, because they apply to the board members and not to staff at all, that you guys have a chance to look at it and determine that those are the way you want them to look. So the first one, the employee defense and indemnification, it's a fairly standard policy. It basically says, you know, if somebody gets sued doing the job like they were supposed to do, we're going to hold them. We're going to provide legal defense and deal with them so that we don't have our employees getting individually sued. And it's a standard policy. We haven't changed it. All we did was reformat it. We reviewed it. It looks good to us. If you guys have had a chance to look at it, we'd ask that you approve it in its new format, and then we'll be looking at this one on a 2-year revision frequency. Doesn't necessarily mean it'll come back to the board, but we in-house will now have a 2-year cycle where we look at this policy to make sure that it's still up to date and there's nothing that has changed.
So are we gonna go through this policy by policy and approve each one individually?
The first two, yes.
Okay.
But as we move on later, we'll do them as groups. But these two, just because the first one is for everybody. It includes you guys as commissioners as well as us as staff. So we want to make sure and scroll through this so everybody has a chance to kind of look at it, make sure, Larry. So, you know, the board is going to be the one who's the main dealers with this. And then the clerk, Kylie, takes care of making sure that it's followed through in the process for any updates that in the future have to happen. Process spells out exactly what we will provide and what we won't provide. If they do something that's willfully negligent, they're on their own. And we aren't going to try and defend them for doing something willfully negligent. But for otherwise, we are going to do what we can to protect them as through board.
And we have as a board, we have a general, errors and omissions kind of, okay.
Yeah. So for this one, we can move on to the next one. The next one is a very, this one only applies. And that, I'm sorry, stop there, hold on. So then we also are going to keep track at the bottom now instead of at the top in that title bar when they were revised. Because that title bar, especially when we looked at that cost sharing policy, that title bar was like half a page long because it had been revised 15 times. So we want to put them at the bottom now, and that way we aren't taking up the space in the beginning.
We can do one at a time, it's not a big deal.
Yeah.
Entertain a motion, if anyone wants to make a motion to approve.
I'll make a motion to approve the employee defense and indemnification policies. There's not a policy number though, right?
No, we are not going to be, we're not going to be using policy numbers anymore either. We're going to use just titles. Because when we have policy numbers, if we need to slip something in that keep it near other policies, it becomes a problem.
Okay, so Kevin? And Joe, okay. All right, any further discussion on this policy? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those
Aye.
opposed? I mean, that was an aye for a yes, right?
Yes, it was, yes.
Okay,
Okay.
all right, so that's, we're approved there.
Yes, so the next one is the tool policy. This one applies to our mechanics. Dan is our guy and he's the fleet facilities manager. He takes care of making sure that the tools that they are looking to purchase are something they would need to work on vehicles here. So that we're not buying parts or tools that are for their side business or anything. He also makes sure that if it's something that gets broken, we take care of it in the line of duty. It is an in-kind type purchase though. So if somebody buys something from Harbor Freight and it breaks, we're not buying them a snap-on replacement.
Right.
So they're gonna get something in kind as the replacement. The other thing is, you know, we have here, there's something stated in the collective bargaining agreement. There's also a form that they need to fill out. And they need to acknowledge that they understand this policy because there is a 12-month deal. If they leave within 12 months of being reimbursed for a tool, they owe us that money back in a final payroll deduction. So they have to commit, if they're gonna take that reimbursement, they have to be here for a year before we're actually gonna let it go. So.
Entertain a motion.
I'll make the motion to accept.
Joe? Second. And Alan. Any further discussion? All those in favor of adopting the tools policy?
Aye.
Yes.
Those opposed?
Okay.
All right,
Next one is a very simple one. We missed it because it wasn't in the normals, but it's simply a deletion of a policy because we don't do it anymore. Policy, keep going, or the next one right there. That was a policy we didn't even know we had originally, but why it was a policy, I don't know. I mean, it was, we just wanted to delete it because we record our own meetings now.
yeah, and frankly, if we needed Tom, and Tom's a good guy, and I, you know, kind of miss him actually, but you can make that decision if you need to have somebody come in and do camera work, so.
Right.
Entertain a motion for the removal of that, of the meetings, recording of meetings policy.
So moved.
Kevin,
Yes.
Carl, we'll stop at Carl. Further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Okay.
Aye.
Those opposed, same? All right, that policy is bye-bye. Okay. And that is,
So then we move into the board policies. There are 4 policies that we have that apply to you as commissioners, but do not come into play for employees. There is the ethics policy, the electronic communication policy, the per diem policy, and the tablet policy. We'd like you guys to read through those, make sure you're comfortable, see if there's anything at all you want changed. I didn't see, did you see a 3 per diem?
So that was old language from 2012, that they must have had a cap at that time. And that was pulled through in that policy, because I read that.
That's what Dan was at.
That's what Dan
speaking
was
about.
also.
Yeah, so this is
So
simply.
there is no 3 per month cap. That ended December of 2012.
okay,
But that was something that was.
It's still in there, so we might want to do a little.
Yeah, because it looks odd that it's,
Yeah.
it's a new policy and it's got a date of
Yeah.
2000.
That's the last time it was
Like
changed.
2012. So if it's a new policy and it's beyond 2012, we should just pull that sentence out of it.
And that's what we want, you know, we will look through it again too, but you know, these are your policies that guide how you expect the board to function. And how we have just simply pulled it from the existing policy and reformatted it to the new policy. And we'd like you guys to come back to us next month and say, yes, this is fine, or no, this needs to be changed, and this is what we want to change it to. We'll have discussion, and as soon as we can, we'll get these all updated, if there are any updates. There may not be. I mean, we've looked at ethics in the past. So it's.
The only thing with the tablet usage is we don't have iPads.
Right, that verbiage
So,
needs to be changed,
yeah.
any kind of electronic device.
Yeah, it all,
Electronic
everything in there
device or
references a silver iPad Pro.
So
I kind of like those, actually.
So there's, I mean, these are literally simply pulled from the existing policy and, you know, obviously
Some of them, I
things
think,
have
from an old
changed.
filing cabinet somewhere found in the basement.
So the only, just 'cause we're talking about it, and we can still review it, and we're not
Yeah.
taking any action, is the code of ethics one. If I'm signing this, then I, right, am I signing this or no, we're just adopting that?
Well,
I thought we were signing one.
yeah, that's actually,
Yeah.
yeah, that's one that we sign it, we're agreeing to it. And
Right.
it's,
If I'm signing something that I'm saying, I'm fine with, as a member of the board of commissioners, I'm committed to doing this.
yeah.
But then when you go from I's to we's, it seems a little weird to me. Like, I'm making a statement for me as my code of ethics. Either we as a board are signing this collectively, or if I'm signing it individually, it should just refer to I. Because most of those things are all redundant. It just goes from I's and then we restate them as we's. So either it's a board of ethics, it's a code of ethics for the board and we all sign it as the board, so it should say we. Or if it's I as a board member, sign it, then they should just be I's. But I'm more than happy to sign on, for me, if it's me personally, what it states, but I'm not signing for you. You know,
Well, I think-
you know what I'm saying, like, it's
I get what you're
combining two approaches to it, and it should be just,
Well, and
Either
maybe,
board
and
policy
maybe in
or
the format,
individual
maybe in the
policy.
formatting of this, it's noted that this is, you know, when we say we, these are, you know, we believe, you know, as a board, or I believe that we as a believe, I support that we as a board, we are committed to these particular principles. And I think that's where it comes from. But, you know, maybe it gets separated and in such a way that it identifies that as a, you know,
Well,
I as a board member.
yeah, but see, it says, the problem is, it says, I'm committed to improving my personal accountability, transparency, ethical conduct, and effective witness wherever possible. We are committed to improving the accountability, transparency, ethical, it's the exact same thing, just with an I and a we,
This is-
like, I don't.
This was the
it's
language
just-
we had in place. I would be interested or to have it mirror what the association does, because that's basically what we did a couple of meetings with. The code of ethics that the association puts forward.
Oh, the County Road Association?
Just adopt the County Road Association's standards.
There are reasons, political reasons perhaps. There might be some language that I might not agree with. In other words, you know, I mean, and I hate to be political, but I mean, there might be some things that for example, is like, I am committed to treating every person in whatever way that they want to be called, whether it be a cat, a dog, or whatever. Well, you know, I've seen stuff like that insert itself, and I don't care to go there. I think we as a board can determine what we want, you know, and if we want to insert language like that, then it's.
Hey, Jason,
Yeah,
I think to your point, I think we went down that road and we backed away from the one from the county.
that's right. That's right. Yeah.
We purposely stayed away from that to voice our views, not stuff that maybe we didn't agree with on their part.
Well, I agree. I mean, I would never agree to that too.
I'm using it's kind of extreme.
Next time
you
you're
know.
gonna kind of pronoun is that I'm supposed to.
Yeah. I appreciate that, Carl, because we did go into it at length, didn't we?
Yeah, it was a lengthy discussion, yes.
so,
Okay, thanks for the history.
yeah, and I mean, we can change it, like I say, if you guys give it to us in advance too, if you give us some of the changes you're suggesting, we can look at starting to format it a little differently and put in some of these corrected or corrections or changes so that we can quickly pull it together and have it ready for that, still in that meeting to approve.
But I see what Kevin's saying though, and maybe let's take a look at what might be a redundancy, and then if not, see if we can format it in a way that it says I.
Hey,
You know, if,
Jason.
yeah.
I think to the point of we or I think there's standards we as a board go to, but then I think the I puts accountability on yourself.
And that's kind of what I was getting at,
But this is a policy for our organization. It's not a oath that we're taking. Again, the way that it's written, if it's a policy that's part of the Grand Traverse County Road Commission, it's not signed, right? None of these are signed, they're just policies. Then it should be a commissioner's code of ethics. So then it should just say we, right?
I almost think.
Because it's a board thing, it's not a personal.
I almost think that this is almost in a reverse order. I mean, because as a kind of a preamble, you would say we. And then as an agreement to the document, you'd say I. So if there is a way as a preamble to have it as a preamble, these are general principles that we as a board support. And then I pledge, or, I am committed to. So.
Yeah,
I agree.
I think that's the right way to put that, Jason.
Yeah.
But then in doing that, you can do a preamble that says we, but then you can get, all of these are all the exact same things spread twice, except it just has an I or a we in front of it, which seems.
Well, yeah, and just say, I agree to the above mentioned standards and.
The rest board member agree.
But
Anyway, that was just one of those.
No, that's fine.
Comments, because the way you look at it and mark it up depends on which view you're looking at it at. Is it a board policy, or is it something I'm, a code of ethics I'm signing as a person?
I can take it to my wife, she's an English major.
All right, so no action on these.
No, we aren't asking for action. We're asking for you for the next meeting to be.
And Kevin, I'll tell you, since you
So passionate about
you're
it.
so passionate about it, I think it would be an absolutely wonderful thing if you took it up and you wanted to provide an edit that you thought.
Talk to Kylie, she can do the edit. You just tell her how you want it to.
Figures are it, right?
Yep, you'll be sweeping floors before it's over.
No, but seriously, we spent some time working on it before, and I don't think it's inappropriate to look at it with a fresh set of eyes. And I appreciate your thoughts on it. So let's take a look at these. And I think that if we could provide some, at least some input and some feedback to management, how we might want to have it go, then we could have a possibility or two maybe for approval later.
Right. And that way Kylie will have a chance to set it up so that she can just copy and paste, make sure everything's in there, that we decide that, yes, we want that, or no, we don't want that.
All right.
Action I.
Yes, item number the performance resolution for municipalities. This is a housekeeping item. Sign the, this is a resolution for the support, or resolution to approve the manager's signature for the MDOT 2207B performance resolution for municipalities form.
A motion to support.
Okay, there's Joe.
Support.
And Ellen. Does anybody have any questions to direct to the manager on this? Carl, you good?
I'm good.
Okay, Kevin, Joe, Ellen. All right, I think roll call, please.
Brown,
Yes.
Andrus,
Yes.
Lehman,
Yes.
Underwood,
Yes.
Yeoman.
Yes, okay. That was. That brings us to informational items and managers' comments.
Okay, I got a few things.
Florida show and tell.
No, I would. Just to let everyone know here, Ron Roloff has left the organization. He's taken the position as the supervisor of permits for MDOT. He's based out of Lansing, but he's going to be working from his home. So he is hopefully going to be very successful at it, and we wish him well. It was a good opportunity for him. It was hard to say no.
I sent him a letter back, and
yeah, so he seems to like it so far from what I've talked to him. So
excellent.
Commissioner training for the Open Meetings Act, just a reminder, Kevin, you're supposed to be there. The rest of you, if you haven't attended it, or if you want to attend it again, since you haven't attended it in a while, it is coming up. Please get with Kylie if you wish to attend. She will sign you up for it. So
I've done it 3 times in my, in the last decade, but I've learned too many bad habits, so I'd hate to start breaking them now.
Well, okay.
What do you say to that?
So March 1st, we are having our meeting with the townships for cost sharing. Just a reminder, Jason and Alan, if you can both be there, because you guys were the ones on the committee. If not, at least hopefully one of you, so we know we can show that we have some board support here. But it is going to be a little bit lengthy. We are going to be talking to them in some detail about how this board policy applies to them. And we're going to show them Larry's map and how it's going to work. And we're going to hopefully start getting some engagement from them. We would like to meet potentially Monday, if we could, just to go over like later in the day, or first thing Tuesday, if you could come in a little bit earlier than the meeting, so that we could sit down and make sure we're all on the same page and we're talking about the same items when we meet with them. So if that works, if you want to do it a little bit earlier, maybe half hour, 45 minutes before we need to get over there. I think it's at 1 o'clock, correct?
1 to
So
4.
we'd like to be there at 12:30 and for those. And so if we could meet, if you guys want to do it early, maybe noon or a little bit before.
I'm not going to New Hampshire. And I have somebody I have to club on the head in New Hampshire.
It's that kind of day.
I was going to go Monday and be gone all week, but I'll try to rearrange. So
Well,
if you want
and
to
if
go
not-
for 11, you want 11 or the day before?
We could go a little early. It's honestly, it's not critical, but you were part of the process at one point.
And then, at least I would definitely want to have at least one board member there. So,
I'll be there, so.
Jason will at least be there.
Okay, and if you can't, then just like.
I'll tell you, so you're gonna be there 11 then?
We'll just probably meet. You tell us what time you want to meet at Networks Northwest.
Right. And I think a couple of members would be great if we can, if somebody else can pull it off. I don't know, Kevin, can you do it or no, or?
It's gonna be on Tuesday.
It's Tuesday the 1st.
Because if you wanted to get going.
We're gonna try and meet a little bit early just to make sure we're talking through everything, make sure we're all on the same page. The actual meeting starts at 1 o'clock. We're expecting it to go till about 4.
All right. I'm supposed to be in Petoskey that
Okay, don't worry about it then. It's not a big pressure. I'll still do it.
I got a doctor's sign meeting.
Okay. Well,
I'd be back by.
It's not, you're not being graded or anything, whether you show up or not. So if you really have to go, are you driving to New Hampshire?
Yes.
Oh, man, that's awesome. I wouldn't fly anywhere anymore anyway, so.
Not through Canada, it's shorter right here.
No, that length of it, going around Lake Erie is another 3.5 hours.
Just so you donated to some of the truckers, eh?
All right, so 11 at Networks Northwest, that's the plan.
That'll work, right? You're fine with that too?
Sure.
So, yeah, that's when we would like to do it then.
Okay.
It's all squared away.
All right, so I'll head over there early that day. It's one of those days, it messed up a lot of things. Hey, so just real quick, hey, real estate one, right? Floor duty, my very first day scheduled for floor duty. I was like, no, you can't do it that day. So I actually had to find a substitute my very first shift. So anyway, one of those things bumped me out.
Right. So the other thing, at the March meeting for Paradise Township, they should be hopefully approving the sale. We've got the legal document for what the parcel will look like, as well as the road. And we are putting in the easement. Carrie's helping us get the easement written so that it only applies to transportation provided by the schools that can use that. It is not for parents' access for dropping off and picking up kids.
Buses and emergency principals.
That's it.
Departures.
Right, so that'll be the only people that'll be using the road, because otherwise they're gonna end up crashing into our trucks.
Yeah.
So, that should be taken care of though at the next meeting, for Paradise Township, as we've now got the location of the project set. We know we're very close to getting the land balancing, moving in paving in hills and putting them in to get us how much we're gonna need for soil and everything else to make sure we're in the optimal spot. And that easement for the schools is the only other thing that's holding it right now, and that should be no problem.
What is our timeline, do you think, on completion of this particular project?
Probably be a year from right now, I would guess. But the barn would be the first thing built, so we'd be able to work out of there. With the salt barn being down there for next winter.
Okay, gotcha.
So that's the plan. And Grand Traverse Construction feels that that's doable. The rest of the office and the other stuff is gonna be.
Steel's all available.
They're thinking that, yes, because that building, that is not a steel building, the pole barn.
Right, no, not that,
But the rest of it,
Yeah.
they're just, that's what's gonna hold them up is the steel for the rest of the vehicle storage and that.
Yeah.
That's why that probably will not be done till about this time next year. So. All right, just so you know, March 24th, board meeting day of next month, we are doing our total organizational update meeting. If there's any commissioners, I think it was falling to you, Carl, but I don't know if you'll be back that early.
I'm not sure.
Okay, so if there's a commissioner that wants to come in and talk to the crew, fine, and if not, so be it. But we are going to be updating them on everything that's happening. We'll be talking to them about what our next year's construction projects are looking like, as well as what we're looking at for potentially new scheduled ones. We have a lot of these carryovers that still exist.
So it can be kind of fun too. When I did one, somebody was wearing a panda head. I have pictures.
So
if Carl can, I can.
Okay, and it's a nice, it's a good thing, you get to meet everybody, and we'll have a lunch.
When is it?
It's the 24th.
That's the day of.
Yes, what time are we doing?
I put it on at 11.
And so it starts at 11, so.
Yes, I'll back up. If Carl isn't here, I can go.
Okay.
I will not be here for that board meeting. We will be on our way to Nashville for spring break that day. So the 24th.
Okay. And that, we're doing a little thing for that meeting. It's gonna be, I'll let Heather tell you how we have it set
So
up.
we're gonna toss a little diversity training in with it, but it'll be World Food Day. So we're gonna work out the details, but to have everybody bring in something. We did the chili cook-off earlier this fall. And so that went over very well. We've gotten into discussions around here. People bring in different game, different food, just wanna broaden everybody's horizon. So anybody who has something, if anybody here is coming and you wanna bring in something particular, we're gonna do that and have it be like a shared.
And I'm bringing in some Polish goodies. I'm bringing in pierogies and I'm bringing in some kapusta, which is stewed sauerkraut, for those who don't know what that is. So, yes, and we're gonna have a bunch of other food, so it's a good, you'll be fed well. So, last thing is, we did another follow-up survey. You guys saw the results of our survey of how our staff evaluates the road commission overall. And we had the same two low points that we've had for a while, and that is an unclear path to advancement and training, as well as the way communication is being carried out throughout the organization. So we did an exclusively online survey, and I will again let Heather tell you, because she's actually been more involved with it since I was on vacation, so.
So we're gonna do some follow-up, actually sit down tomorrow for this, so it'll be very light. We did it right before Brad did leave for vacation, so we wanted to be able to sit down, but communication and training were the two areas, but what we did find on this survey is overall, it was very positive. We got more feedback than we did from the fall survey. And we can pinpoint the areas, what people were talking about when they were saying these items, when I updated you guys this fall. So we will be sitting down tomorrow to go through it more. And then next week, I actually have a setup to meet with all the management staff, the leadership staff for Brad. And we'll be able to implement more in each of the departments. So, and I also believe that with some of the communications with what Larry has been bringing in with CityWorks and the initial training that we did last week and some of the rollout plans this week, it's really going to bridge those gaps in those communication pieces. So
Roll up.
Yes,
Anyway,
it started Friday,
excellent.
but it's a very skimmed back version yet.
yes.
We're bringing them on slowly. Between Kylie and Katrina, they've brought a lot of feedback to Larry already. We've made some modifications and we're gonna be continually making modifications, but it is out there and Larry has the updates coming here soon with the crews using it, taking it from service requests and creating work orders and then executing the work orders in the field so that we can actually start getting the data that we need to optimize operations here.
Well, if a couple of us at a time could get some review time on it, it'd be great.
Yeah, we're, so right now we did some training this past week. And then we're gonna have the project manager from CityWorks come back. And then we're gonna kind of tell them the things we like and the things we don't like and tweak it to fit our organization. So after that, we'll have a good handle on it and then, yeah, I'll show and tell all day long.
Yeah, and it's going to, I mean, this is not the final rollout, this is the start, and we're gonna keep expanding it into more and more areas as we go. And, it's a big undertaking, but it's gonna be well worth it in the long run. We're really looking forward to it.
So how far are we away from an app? So, I mean,
Our app's close. Right now, technically CityWorks is an app.
I understand, but from a public app.
From a public app, I'm gonna say we're gonna be at least probably 3 to 4 months out still on that.
That's not terribly long.
To integrate with CityWorks, go in, create a service request in CityWorks, and then disseminate to the crew.
Public's gonna get a kick out of that.
Yeah, it's gonna make it much better.
That's a rollout, that's gonna be fun.
Yeah, well, and the thing is, especially, when they start using their phone to do it, they have a GPS location right there, so it's gonna pull them right up to the map.
Exactly.
And they don't have to worry about finding where this is, they just hit it on the screen and say, this is what my problem is.
I mean, there are apps that you can identify hazards now already. Android Auto, for example, has some things in it that, you press a thing, and it says, what's the hazard? And it has, fire, crashed car, car in ditch kind of thing. But this would be pretty neat.
Yeah. So, and so far, the crew was pretty accepting, they seemed pretty excited about it. So we're looking forward to it, and we're looking forward to having it out there in a fully functional form to start demoing it for you to see what it looks like and how you can pull reports from home to see, okay, this is what happened and this is what our schedule looks like if any questions arise. And it eventually it will also have some financial information in it, which we're hoping to be able to push directly into Phil's system. And we're gonna have some timekeeping that's gonna be associated with it that we hope will be going the same way. So it's gonna be it's a long and involved process, but as we expand, it's gonna definitely save us a lot over the course of the next several years. So, and that is it for me.
Cool. All right. That brings us to commissioners' comments. Carl, we'll start with you since you're so far away.
Okay. Hey, after our last meeting, I ran into Ron Limcool again from Long Lake Township, and he wanted me to relay to the board and staff thanks again for our support on their project out there to help them get their fire station up and done, and that turn lane done, and our continued support to make it happen for them, being that they were a little bit upside down on that project. So they're very thankful. So that's it.
Thank you. Kevin?
I mean, I guess if I'm on the road on the 24th, can I remote in to the meeting?
Yeah, certainly. He will set you up.
Our board meeting,
Yes.
because by the time the meeting hits, we will be where, I'll be in a hotel somewhere.
Perfect.
So I might be able to dial in. Kids will be in the pool, won't matter to me.
Yes.
So, yeah, we'll work on that, but that's a possibility, so, but no other comment.
So I just kind of have one question or a couple of questions, but, so we did the phones. What about the other half of that security part? Do we know what's gonna happen yet?
We're gonna have to go out to bid again.
Okay.
But it's gonna be a little bit right now, because right now we're still working on bids for seasonal materials. And Dan is very focused right now on getting these truck specs out. Cause there are some changes coming in the truck specs, and he wants to see what we need to do to make sure that we get the trucks that we want. Realizing that they're gonna be, 10% higher than they used to be.
Yeah, this is kind of my second question. What are we looking forward to on, because inflation's gonna be wild by December.
Yes.
So
We
forecasting forward. what are we looking at?
Yes, we actually started discussion today a little bit, but not in great detail because it was my first day back. But we are talking about, the fact that some people are saying that by July, we could see $6 to $7 gas prices here in Michigan. So that's a major expense for us. I mean, we burn through 130,000 gallons of diesel every year. And we burn through another, and we burn through all kinds of regular fuel. So when you start talking about that amount, we're talking potentially expenditures in the $400,000 of additional expenditure just for fuel. That does not include the fact that we also have materials coming in. And we've got bid prices coming for things where asphalt, Elmer's or whoever, Wraith Riley or whoever bids on it, they're paying their employees more. They have the gas prices. Asphalt's probably gonna go up. So we are just starting to take that into account. And we have got some serious number crunching to do based on what we could potentially see. The good thing is we have a pretty healthy fund balance. Hopefully by next year, we've got this whole inflationary thing pulled back a little bit at least. Hey, I'm hoping.
Jason?
Always the optimist.
Yeah.
Hey, Carl.
Can I just, to Brad's point here, and he brought up and Joe and that, but this gas thing going $5, $6, $7 a gallon, that's probably going to impact us on MTA, I'm going to guess, because people are going to start driving a little bit less because they just are not going to be able to afford that. So that's another negative as far as our funding.
Anything else?
No,
Yeah.
I have two things. Last month I asked for a project list.
We are still finalizing it. We were gonna be sitting down with you guys in March to go over that. We have the carry forwards is the only thing we have right now.
I'd like to go, our chairman is encouraging us to go to the townships. And when they say, well, what are you planning? I'd like to say, this is what we're planning. It's impossible to carry out our duties with what little information we have as board members. I think you guys are holding this way too close to the vest. And we joked, we talked about the roundabout a little bit earlier and stuff. I see the bids are out for the roundabout. That's the kind of stuff that commissioners should say, next month, you're gonna see this. We're taking bids on the roundabout. The commissioners should know these things. Then when people who live on River Road ask us something, we might actually know something. I really do not like being in the dark. And I feel when we interact with the community, that's really important. And then the bid process. I understand how it's hard to get more bidders, but we spend a lot of money, and somehow we need to get more people involved with, know if it's broader specifications or I'm not sure because I haven't worked in a municipality, but I'm disappointed in the number of bids we get for things. And there has to be some way to open this up to try to get, we're probably not going to get more than 2 or 3 bidders for big construction projects. I get that. The guy from Indianapolis is not going to come here to bid the roundabout. But for stuff that we can do around town, it would be nice to see local companies involved. I'll bring up the shoreline stabilization project that we awarded to AJ's a month or 2 ago. The young man who had another process and gave us a presentation said he didn't know about it because he doesn't belong to MIT. He's not a contractor there, and I don't think we advertised that one. I'd like to, I'm crediting Wayne, the fact that the roundabout bid is out and it's already on our website. I think you said something about we're going to see it. It's going to be advertised in the Regular Eagle and stuff. I would like to see us do all we can to promote people getting involved in the bids, especially how difficult it is to get bidders.
We don't just use MIT. I mean, we do send this out to other people. And as part of the Mitten deal, like the Builders Exchange, they then get it from that Mitten site. And then they also turn around and, send it to their folks. The problem is with that scope of project, you're not talking about a mom and pop company. You've got to have a good amount of equipment. You've got to have, for these road construction projects, you have maybe 3.
I totally agree with it. I was thinking more about the telecommunications thing. The gentleman I talked to from the people who do the state police and MDOT said, we really only look at the Builders Exchange, and if it was there, we missed it.
Well, it would have been there. Because Mitten releases everything to the Builders Exchange has access to everything off of Mitten. So if it's on Mitten, it's on Builders Exchange too. They have it. And I'm more than willing. You tell me where you think we can post it and where we think we can go. But I mean, like, even when we know something as simple as getting tires replaced on trucks, it takes Dan 2 days to get all of these people called, and then one person will give us a price. So, I mean, if you have anything to suggest, anybody to suggest for any type of work we do, I'm more than happy to deal with them. For guardrail replacement, something fairly straightforward, something anybody can learn to do. We have 2 people and they're nowhere near here. So it's a sometimes 2-month wait before they're going to be back in northern Michigan. And nobody from the area, we've talked to fence companies, we've talked to everybody, said, look, we're looking for people to do guardrail. It's not that hard. There's a free training course in Lansing that they can go attend to learn all the specs. It's hard. It's hard to get people to deal with the fact that, number one, most of them do not have a high enough insurance policy to do work for us. And until they, if they're not going to spend that extra amount of money to get an insurance policy that covers them to here for one small project.
You mentioned guardrail replacement. That's an interesting. I mean, we're kind of trying to move our employee pool into more of a full-time, year-round employee pool now. Is there something that we could do? I mean, we're training traffic engineers. I mean, we're training.
We bought some tools for guardrail.
Okay, so
And I think they are doing the small
minimal,
like
yeah.
but the end posts and
Yeah.
that type of stuff is contracted out.
Got it.
Currently.
Yeah, so straight line work, they can handle. That's no problem. The problem is when you hit these attenuated impact ends. I mean, I don't know if you've ever seen one of those flat plate ends after they've been hit. It spins that guardrail into a corkscrew pretty quick. So by the time that's done and you have to replace all that, there are some very exacting specs that you do have to follow. I mean, the torque on each of these points is a certain thing.
I understand.
So for us to try and
There's
do
an
that,
expertise to it.
Right.
But again, is it something that we can train if we're having a problem sourcing the appropriate expertise?
and yeah, and we are.
We talk about folks looking for a way to advance. And I'm not necessarily trying to increase the level of administrative or engineering staff or whatnot, but at the same time, at some point, if it's so hard to find somebody, we need to look at alternatives so that, A, we can continue to do what our mission is, and that's, you know, to have safe roads. I mean,
Right, and that's why we now do all the straight line guardrail work in-house, because we can't get a contractor up here to do it. It's just there's two of them and they're far away. They come up when they got a lot of work. They're overworked. So it's very tough. And then you start looking at some of the other smaller things that we do. You know, I mean, we try calling for Dan has the hardest job because he's got parts that he's trying to call around on. And even if he calls them, they'll tell him, well, it would be this, but we won't have it for 2 months.
Yeah,
You know, so-
they never get, you know, the job anyway, so they just
Yeah.
give up quoting.
And then and then you end up with the ones that are the low bids, that are routinely the low bids. And they're getting all the work anyway. So at some point, as a contractor, why are you gonna keep bidding if you can't touch the price that John over here can reach? And so it's hard right now, especially with the limited number of people that are available for most of the stuff we do. It's just hard for us to find other people. And I would love to have more people bid. I would love it. Just don't see it. And we send it out, not just to, gov bids, we send out stuff. We do all kinds of things to say whatever we can do, but. And I'm more than willing, you send me some places, I'll send it. We'll send it.
Anything else? I really don't have anything. Just going back to the fuel thing, do we have options as far as pre-purchasing ahead and making a bet? I mean, essentially, you know, buying a contract for 100,000 gallons or something there.
Not that I've ever seen.
Okay. Because I've seen that, you know, it's happened before, but I just didn't know.
Yeah, it's right. The way with our fuel, because like, what's that tank, 15,000 or is it?
I think it's more 20,000 diesel.
It's like a 20,000 gallon diesel tank. So, you know, when we know things are happening, like we knew what this Russia thing was going to impact it. We filled it up yesterday. So
It doesn't last that long.
no, it doesn't. No, when you're burning through 3,000 gallons a day for plowing, it doesn't last long.
This has been some crazy weather too this year. It's been something else. So. All right, well, since I don't have anything else, let's move to public comment number 2. Seeing none. Motion to adjourn. To adjourn, and you're adjourned. Thank you.